Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our July ACE program. This program is particularly around how to get the most use and the most benefit out of your ACE membership. So ACE is a nonprofit association of professionals, and we provide lots of different types of services to businesses, nonprofits, and other organizations. The focus of ACE is really around three pillars. The first is networking, which is connecting and developing relationships with other consultants, coaches, and other service providers to help you build your own network. It's about learning, building your professional skills with online and in-person programming. And it's about promoting you and your business to help you increase your visibility for your business and expertise. And so we'll talk more detail about that in just a minute. I did want to mention a couple of upcoming events. So our September program will be September 15th. It will be Zoom as well. And it will be the presentation medic with Rick Pollock. I think that'll be a great presentation for how to build and do and speak well in your speaking engagements. And the October program, we're going to do a similar program to what we did last October, which was crafting consulting agreements. And this is in conjunction with MTI. And it will be Friday, October 20th. The venue is still to be determined, but will likely be at the MTI offices in Brunswick. So we have a relatively small number of participants at this point. So what I'd like to do before we jump into the program is to just kind of go around my screen and find out who everyone is. So if you could just say a few words about yourself as I call on you, that would be great. Let's start with Priscilla Hansen-Mahoney.
Good morning, everyone. Excuse my crazy hair and look. I just took the dogs for a walk, so but happy to join you. I'm Priscilla Hansen-Mahoney, Blazing Trails Coaching. I work with contractors on creating systems and training their leadership so they can succeed and grow.
Thank you. Stephen Jenks. Are you there, Stephen? Okay, we'll move on for now. Steve Nelson.
Morning, everybody. Steve Nelson, Rolling Wave Planning. I've been a project manager for about 20 years, IT project management. I got done with that, and now I am out trying to help small businesses with their project management needs.
Great, thank you very much. Bob Labrie.
Bob Labrie with Labrie Training and Consulting. I've been with ACE since 2001. That's a long time, man. And I opened the business originally as a speaking business, and I progressed it into sales training and sales management.
Great, thank you, Bob. Matthew Opuda.
My name's Matthew Opuda, North Star Evolution. I'm on the ACE board, and under North Star Evolution, I help small businesses build the patterns to grow through project management, leveraging technology, and of course, that all important culture.
Thank you, Matthew. Tova.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I also just got back from walking the dog, just in the nick of time. So I belong to ACE. I don't know, I think since about 2010. So what's that, 13 years? And my business is Partners Creating Growth. And so I work with businesses on branding, new product development, and market launch, as well as new market entry. And I've got various teams of people I work with to help make all this happen. And financial analysis as well. Anyways, yeah. I look forward to the discussion.
Thanks, Tova. Jennifer.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Jennifer Osborne. I am new to this group. I found out about it through the, I think it's SPC group, and I met Bob there last time, and they told me that I should join this. And I wanted to join because I own Talent Sense, which I started 10 years ago this past April. It's both a human resources and recruiting firm that provides clients with competent HR solutions and unmatched red carpet style recruiting. And I am just looking forward to learning more about this and meeting all of you.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Holly.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Holly Smevog. I have a business called HMS Career Coaching, and I have a couple people that contract with me, but we basically help mid-career professionals navigate change or make life or career decisions. And our clients include individuals and employers. So it sounds like our work is a little complementary, Jennifer. And I've been with ACE for, I guess, 6 months or so. I feel like a new member, but maybe time is ticking along. Good morning. Thank you.
Okay, Alice.
Yes, good morning. My name is Alice Grindling and I own Terraform Entertainment. It's a boutique video production company, and I specialize in helping small businesses and nonprofits build authority and trust through online video marketing.
Great, thank you. And Brianna.
Good morning. My name is Brianna Henward. I own Tintin Associates. I'm an insurance advisor, so I help people with the public health insurance option, whether that's ACA or Medicare plans.
Great. Okay, and Stephen Jenks, are you there?
Good morning, everyone. I'm a retired emeritus member of ACE. I think the only person on this call that predates me is Bob Labrie. I joined ACE sometime in the late 90s or early 2000s, was president for a while, very active. I'm now fully retired, but I wanted to keep touch with the organization, and I'm stunned looking around this group that Priscilla and Terry and Bob are the only people and Carrie are the only people I've ever met before. There's so many new people. So welcome to all of you. And I'm watching.
Okay, and then we'll have each of our speakers. Angela.
Yeah, do you want us to jump right into the program, Terry, from here?
I think that probably makes sense.
Let's do it. So hello, everyone. I'm Angela Hansen. I have a partnership actually with a colleague named Rachel. We have Range Culture Co. and we do HR consulting. So again, some complementary services. And we do training programs that involve improvisation games. So it solidifies skills using games that are tried and true to be able to practice those skills. And the result of our training programs is usually a lot of fun and laughter and group cohesion. So it's a really fun thing to facilitate and watch. Today, we are going to further what Terry opened the meeting with, which is all of the reasons that being a member of ACE is good for you and your business. And so we're going to go through those things. And there may be some members who haven't really taken advantage of some of the things we're going to dive into. And maybe you have. And so if you have, certainly feel free to put something in the chat that says, hey, I wrote an article or I did this or that, and it helped me in this way. And we'll incorporate those benefits to you into the program to share with others. So the first thing that I will do, I think, is just tell you that I'm the chair of the membership committee for ACE. I'm the secretary of the board as well. I wanted to have a peer group. And that is what ACE has done for me. You know, being a consultant can be isolating, and we have our clients, but really having your peer group and your tribe is, for me, is something I wanted. The membership committee's responsibility is to connect with members. We welcome new members and do all of the administrative things that go along with increasing membership, and working with the board to make sure that, we're attracting new members and all of that, and keeping track with data. So I will introduce Carrie Yardley. Carrie, maybe you can introduce yourself and talk about the outreach committee a little bit.
So I'm Carrie Yardley. I'm a lawyer. I have my own practice, Yardley Esquire, and I represent business clients from startup to exit. And what I try to do is match my services to their stage in growth. So that's what I do. I'm also, in my free time, the outreach chair of ACE. And the outreach committee manages basically two things. It manages our relationships with other organizations, which are becoming more numerous and deeper, I'd say. The other thing we do is we create visibility opportunities for our members. So let's get into my slide deck. Terry, am I able to share?
You should be able to.
Okay.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, Carrie, Francis, let's have you introduce yourself and the program committee.
Okay, I can do that now. So I'm Francis Eberle, and I'm with a group called Price Associates, which is, I'm the only person in Maine, but what we are is a group of individuals who help leaders and teams improve their performance really through human behavior. And so we like to think about everyone being a leader of some extent. And we think about that we help leaders grow and change their world. So I'm on the board of ACE, and I'll be talking about the program. Or the program committee, what we do there. So Carrie, back to you.
Yes, okay. So I thought I would get some of the checkbox stuff done first. If you become an ACE member, you get a free subscription to MainBiz, and put a pin in that because I'll be talking about our relationship with MainBiz later on in the deck. We also, as ACE, belong to the Portland Regional Chamber, which means that every single one of our members can get full chamber benefits. And I might add that their membership cost is now around $350. So, and our dues are $175. So I'll let you do the math on that. And we recently, through a collaboration called ACE Speaks, which we will also be talking about, have joined the Lewiston Auburn Chamber, and you get all membership benefits there as well. Finally, and I'm glad Jennifer is here, we have a very nice sister organization, a relationship with the Society for Professional Consultants, which is very much like what we are, but in the greater Boston area. And they and we offer each other 50% discounts on our membership. So now,
Carrie,
yes.
Carrie, two quick things. The MainBiz subscription, is that $84 a year for the regular? I think it's for the regular membership, classic membership, $84 a year, right?
Yeah,
we get that free.
I think that's right. I think it went up recently from $60.
Yep. And then you said the Portland Regional membership is about $350 for a solo member, perhaps.
Correct.
So again, with ACE dues, we've already well exceeded what the ACE dues are. So that's amazing. And the Lewiston Auburn Chamber, do we get full membership benefits with them too, or what?
Yes, yes, absolutely full membership benefits. It's hard to kind of peg where they come in because their due structure slides by the size of your scales, by the size of your business. But I think the minimum membership is like 110.
Amazing.
And then Jennifer, what is your guys' dues at this point? I think it's 150, isn't it?
That sounds about right, but I actually haven't become a member just yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's but in any event, it's we can join for $75.
Right.
Okay.
Just one more thing with the Portland Chamber that not a lot of people know about is if you join them as a business, You don't join at $325, you join at $250 because of the ACE membership. So just so you know, I just joined them for $250, my own business.
You
And
don't
it's because
have,
I'm,
Bob, you
because
don't
I'm an
have
ACE
to.
member. I know, but I wanted to. I
Okay.
wanted my business in there.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get it. So, and there's some courtesies we observe when we attend chamber events, and you're free to contact me if you want to know what they are. The other thing I want to mention, and I really don't have a slide for it because it occurred to me this morning, is that we have very deep connections with some of the major organizations in the state that support the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So, for example, our president, Terry Johnson, and the executive director of the Maine Center for Entrepreneurs were instrumental in working out a grant program for consulting services with the Maine Technology Institute, so that your services, if you are retained, are subsidized 50% by MTI up to a certain amount. So it is well worth your while to get on their list of approved consultants. Many of our members participate in the Maine Mentor Network, which supports almost all, I believe, Terry, of Maine Center for Entrepreneurs programs. Yes?
Yes, all programs and entrepreneurs who've ever been through one of the MCE programs.
And I can tell you, just meeting the people out there who are devoting their time to helping the entrepreneurial ecosystem and new entrepreneurs has been eye-opening and gratifying for me. I have developed business through those contacts, so yay me. Many of our members are mentors at the Rue Institute, which is Northeastern's program in Portland. And then we are also what's called an organizational partner with Maine Accelerates Growth, which is a loose affiliation and network of other organizations like us. But some of the major players like CEI, Maine Center for Entrepreneurs, SCORE, Rue, and they have a monthly program that basically, if you watch a few in a row, you begin to understand how the network works. So it's worth checking in. It really is worth checking in. So I've done the organizational relationships we have. And so we're going to talk about what we do with Maine Biz and some other visibility opportunities.
Yeah. And Carrie, I'll give a quick overview if that's okay, and you can jump back in. Or do you want to do it?
Why don't I do it? Why don't I do it? Because I have them, I have bullet points. Angela.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay. So ACE has developed a number of avenues for you to repurpose your content and boost its impact. First, it's worked with Maine Biz to create both digital and print publication opportunities. It's, in addition to having its own programs, we have a new program that's going to have a soft launch in September called ACE Speaks, where we're collaborating with a couple of chambers of commerce to develop speaking opportunities at their business programming. And then finally, we have our own program, whatever, for boosting all of this content through our own social media channels and newsletter. And we are beginning to identify other ways to post and boost your content, particularly with those chambers that we work with. Okay, so basically the cycle is, if you write an article for Maine Biz, it can boost your speaking program, your speaking engagements. If you are writing in Maine Biz, you can use your articles to gain speaking engagements. And we sit in the middle with our social media, helping you promote all of it. So let me talk a little bit about the opportunities with Maine Biz. Just in the past year, we have managed to get published 35 or more articles in Maine Biz by our members. And that's the first time publication. So it's 5 individual unique pieces of content. We do this through 2 columns. The first is Ask ACE, which is exclusive to ACE members. It's bi-weekly. It gets published in the print edition, and then there's kind of a digital version, like a PDF that comes out at around the same time of that issue. And we also have what are called how-to columns. And they're not exclusive to ACE members. You don't need to join ACE in order to have access to the how-to columns, but there are reasons to do it through us. First, we have developed a very good relationship with the editor, and he has liked our content a lot. And so he has specifically asked us to keep the articles flowing. We will work with you on your pitch to kind of fine tune it to make sure it's something that Maine Biz wants. We will help you edit if you're not a comfortable writer. Even if you are, sometimes a second pair of eyes is very helpful. And we can help you embed links that get you where you need to do in terms of where you want to be in terms of your other content. So let me talk about Ask ACE. Ask ACE was the brainchild of Jim Milliken, who was an emeritus member. And Jim is a newspaperman from way back, and he in fact was a writer for Maine Biz. He went into project management, and that's one of the reasons he joined ACE. But an Ask ACE column, so we're eternally grateful. I think it's probably been going at least 15 years at this point. It answers a question of interest to the readers of Maine Biz. Deep dark secret here, we often write the question last. We let you decide what you want to tell people or what you think they know. So once we know that, we know what they need to ask you to elicit that information. So don't worry if you don't have an FAQ to prompt what you're doing. We're really good at coming up with them. Now, you can see here, this is, I think this is Angela's most recent Ask ACE. Yeah. Yeah. So we also have, it's published for sure, absolutely guaranteed in every bi-weekly issue in the print edition. They have space reserved for it. So we know exactly when an Ask ACE is going to be published. Now, a how-to article is a longer format. It is not exclusive to ACE, but it runs about 650 to 700 words. Let me check my notes here. We make
Carrie,
it easy.
Carrie, can
Yes.
I stop you for 1 second and you can regroup on how to? Let's just put a pin in that. I'd love to ask Alice a question because Alice Grindling is here. She introduced herself, and Alice, can you chime in if you were to write an Ask ACE, if you had one thing to tell the business community, can you tell us what that might be?
I think if it was one thing to tell the business community, I think I would address fears surrounding video marketing. There's a lot of misconception about video production and getting involved with it that I think would be really helpful to address.
Yeah. And so as a small business owner in writing an article for Maine Biz, like how would that talk about your reaction to being able to do that?
I think it's a really amazing opportunity. I always say that I've gotten more business networking than I ever have through straight spending money for marketing. And so I think the opportunity to kind of give my voice a more expansive reach, be able to educate, because I don't know about you guys, but educating my prospective clients is a huge part of what I do. So the opportunity to be able to do that in a publication is really cool.
Awesome. Great.
So let me also tell you that just recently I spoke with a videographer who does more court reporting than what you do. But he said he had inquired at Main Biz about placing an ad, $2,000.
Yeah.
This is a much more effective way, I think, of getting the word out.
Yeah.
For you. So the other, let's see. Yes, let me regroup here. So the how-to is that longer format. We make it easy because we provide that insight as to what they're looking for. Sometimes they'll actually say, call and say, we need something, or email and say. We're getting very good at editing to their formatting. They have some their formats and rules. They have some peculiarities involving bullet points that I'm not sure I entirely understand. We can suggest timing, which I think is very, very significant. We can't always tell you the exact date when you will be published, but we can talk with you about when it would be best, and then we can make a suggestion of a window for publication to Main Biz. And I don't think they've ever missed the window when I've asked. So, think about it that way. It's a funny beast, how-to, because it might appear in that print edition for the first time, but often they run out of room in print because a page has a limitation on how much space it has. So what they often do is they publish it for the first time in their daily newsletter. Now, the daily newsletter is not a lesser opportunity, because think about how it would work. Your teaser for your piece would hit 11,000 inboxes with your picture and your expertise and your article title, okay, with a click-through link. Whereas with a paper, you have to, it's kind of a catch as catch can thing. So none of us, I think we would all have to admit that none of us actually sits down and reads a paper front to back every time it gets to us. But this makes it easy for people to recognize who you are. It includes a headshot, which you don't get with Ask Ace. It includes a much longer bio, and I think significantly, and this is one of the ways we've been using it, it has a much more capacity for including embedded links to things like your website, other content, etc. So by the numbers, 9,500 paper issues or papers are sent out every other week with 3 to 4 readers. So that comes out to what? 3,500 exposures, 35,000 exposures potentially. And the newsletter has 10,000 subscribers. So you're really getting a high impact product or high impact piece of marketing content. And as you're an expert, this is probably the best way for you to present yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, the other thing I should mention is that we often get asked encore performances. If you write an Ask Ace, it may appear first in print, but I've been noticing that they're picking it up and running it in the daily newsletter quite frequently, at least 2 times a week, I'd say. And when they appear in the newsletter, and it's a how-to, that all-important headshot and boost happens as well.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously your Ask Ace is going to have your name and whatever. I would not pass up Ask Ace because 250 words, guaranteed publication, and you know exactly when it's going to be, which makes it very easy to tell people.
Right.
To my email list, look for my next article. In
Right.
case you missed it, here's the link to my last article,
Mm-hmm.
which is another point. These links are permanent. They live permanently on the Main Biz website so that they are always accessible to you.
That's great. So Carrie, should we ask Alice what she might write for a how-to? If you had 3 things to tell somebody, Alice, do you know what you might write?
Yeah, I think I would talk about how to put yourself on camera. I think it's so important these days for business owners to put themselves on camera, and it's such a frightening thing to do. And it doesn't need to be. So I think I would write about putting yourself on camera and how best to use that. Once you have that video content, how best to use it online.
Okay, I hope that you write that, because I know that will help me.
Yeah, I'm terrified. I don't mind public speaking, but being captured on camera in anything but the most fleeting Zoom call is terrifying to me. And I'm not shy. I don't know what it is about video. The other thing, you said something, or Angela prompted you with something that I think is important, which is if you're writing for Ask ACE, it's one idea. If you're writing for how to, it's generally 3 connected ideas. Okay, so this, and I'm going to point something out that I'll talk about a little bit later on, which is you notice that Francis was one of the authors of the how-to piece, but he and Tara Jenkins, who's the other picture, wrote this article ahead of a presentation they did for ACE, and we were able to put the presentation link in the bio. So put a pin in that, you know, in terms of the other marketing activities you might be doing.
Absolutely. By the way, if anyone here on this call has any questions about, Tova's asking for PowerPoint slides, so I think that's totally fine. We can send those out, right, Carrie?
Yeah.
But if anybody has any other questions, you can pop them in the chat, or certainly take yourself off mute once we finish, and we'll answer them about Main Biz and the Ask ACE and the how-to, of course. So do you want to jump into ACE Speaks, Carrie?
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so we have, those are the print opportunities and publication opportunities. We're really enhancing our, getting our members, our ability to get members presentation opportunities. And right now we have 2 main ways of doing it. There's the new ACE Speaks program, which Angela is going to talk more about, but I would hope that Steve would chime in because he is the project manager for that program. And then we have our own ACE programming, which Francis is going to talk about. So I'm going to let them speak on that. But what I want to note is you will have presentation opportunities potentially, particularly once we get ACE Speaks launched in the fall.
Yeah, so ACE Speaks, if you want to just go back to that for a second. Are you ready for us to do the overview of that, Carrie?
You can do that, or I can just move on and finish. It doesn't, you know, this is pretty easy for me. I don't know whether you have slides on ACE Speaks or not.
No, just a quick overview of it. It's as Carrie mentioned, it's an organized process. It's a speakers bureau, basically. So the outreach committee will help you to gain exposure to chamber events. It's a partnership with the chambers. There are a couple right now. There'll be a soft launch of this fall, so it's the right time to join ACE and get into this ACE Speaks program because, again, it's more exposure to other businesses and business owners of your skills. Let's see. Again, it's under development, so we're building the list of topics and program expertise. And if it goes well, it will continue to blossom into other chambers. But we're starting with, is it the Portland Regional and the Lewiston Auburn Chamber, Carrie, right now?
No, it's mid-Maine, which is Waterville and Lewiston Auburn. We have done programming for the Portland Regional Chamber in the past. Part of the reason for this programming is to get the footprint of this organization out of Greater Portland and into the state of Maine.
Yeah,
so we're
perfect.
working with them. One of the things I would say about those chambers is they're giving us fabulous insight into what their business audiences want to hear. and are actually working with us to identify programs that we might want to include or we might want to invite our members to put together. If you are a member, this is pretty light lifting for you if you don't mind public speaking, because all we ask is that you be prepared to give an hour's presentation, and by hour, I mean question and answer included, to your average business breakfast or other forums. So it's not difficult. We want you to mention ACE, obviously, in your slides, and do what you can through your own channels to boost these programs. What we've asked the chambers to do is to market the programs as they usually do, and many of them have mailing lists, email lists of in excess of 3,000. So that's another way to deal with getting your name out there, particularly to outside of Greater Portland.
In addition to that, Carrie, I think we should mention that the outreach committee and the program committee are interested in preparing us to be great speakers. So the next program that Terry mentioned earlier, the program coming up is about, I can't remember the title of it off the top of my head, but it is about further developing ourselves to present really, really well. So we know that when we present well, we'll make more impressions on the attendees. So that's another good point to mention.
And we hope to supplement that program. That program will be open to the public, but we hope to supplement it by a series of workshops that'll be available to ACE members only. A really small group working with an expert in communications. We just snagged potentially Linda Verrill of, I think it's Broadreach Communications, and she's top notch. So she's willing to do one of these workshops. I've got my feelers out for others. So look for that opportunity. They'll be going on throughout the fall. So if you miss one, you won't miss others. Let me talk about kind of our promotional program for you. If you write for Ask ACE, for example, or a how-to, that immediately goes up once it's published and we have the actual link on LinkedIn. We do that routinely. If you do a presentation, we're working with the program committee to make sure that, actually, I think LinkedIn is ours now, isn't it, Angela? Is outreach? Mm-hmm. I think so. We will also be, if you do an ACE Speaks program, we would also boost that in our LinkedIn channel. And something we have not done before, mostly because we haven't gotten a lot of requests, but think about this. If you're doing a program somewhere, tell us. We'll tell the world through LinkedIn. We also will do a mention in the newsletter. Every month I do a roundup of who has written in Maine Biz that month, and we provide the link to it. We will be doing our programs. Our own programs are obviously on our website, but we're talking about creating a little corner for member presentations, which would include the ACE Speaks presentations. And we're finding, as we talk to these chambers, that many of them have public calendars. So if you've got your own program and it's not connected to ACE, we can let you know where you should be appearing. If it is connected to ACE, we will be doing that for you. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Great.
So now I want to deal with our guinea pig. Alice, that's you in the lower left-hand corner. There. So,
I've never looked so good.
Yep, right there on the big screen.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at what you said. You said if you were going to write one thing, it would be fears surrounding being on video. That would be your askings. Okay. So what you would probably do is you would put it in the Maine Biz. And as an ask case, let's say. Maine Biz would publish it. We would be picking it up on LinkedIn. But I want you to think about whether that Ask ACE opportunity might bear some fruit if you were to do some a presentation. Remember, Francis's presentation previewed, Francis's article previewed a presentation he did later in the month that the how-to was published. Okay. So Angela successfully got a link to some in one of her Ask Cases. She got a link to some materials, some free materials she had located, so that people who read the article could do that. If you have that on your own website, that's called driving traffic to your website. So you can use because everything is digital now, ultimately, you can use MainBiz to link to your website, to advertise your presentations, et cetera. What were your three? I'm sorry, my notes didn't.
I think my three would be how to nail down your content, what your content is going to be. Then how to put yourself on camera. And then the third would be where to put the video.
Okay. So that having been said, one of the things we're hearing from these chambers is please send us people who know marketing and digital marketing. That really sounds like you. So I would, for sure, write the piece, but I would also sign up, on the ACE Speaks menu and specifically note a program like that. And in order to advertise that program, you can add a link to the menu back to your article so they get a good solid idea of how what you're going to say. Sure. And then of course that link could be part of the promotional package they use. Okay. The other thing How-To has is the ability to link to content. And I will tell you that video content boosts your article right to the top of the algorithm.
Oh, I know all about that.
Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you do. And that's one of the things people need to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you could then take it back to, include in your link a little video on these things, that would work as well. So let me tell you some member success stories, and then I think I am done. So Angela, when she joined you joined after the first of the year, right, Angela?
Yes.
Okay. She hit the ground running with 3 Ask ACE articles, and all 3 were republished in the dailies. Okay, so she has not only appeared in print, she has had an encore in the dailies. Priscilla, glad you're here, Priscilla, wrote an article 2 or 3 years ago, and I think it was the difference between strategy and a strategic plan or something of that nature.
It was a business plan or business model.
Right, okay. When it published first, particularly in the digital edition, that was, I think, the top article clicked in MainBiz. That week.
It was the top 3.
Top 3 clicked in MainBiz. And then they like it so much, they keep republishing it. So, and every time they do that, she gets a similar score. So there was some magic in that, Priscilla, some secret sauce that you need to give us the recipe for. So, and Francis, who is a frequent contributor, has written 8 articles, I think, total since joining. And I've literally lost track of how many reruns he's had in the dailies. And finally, me, this piece that I wrote under the gun, that my 250 words written in an hour, polished to the best of my ability. As soon as it was on preparing for a business sale and the housekeeping necessary to do it. As soon as they received it, the editors went, And even before the article published, they did one of their flash polls, asking people, subscribers, whether they intended to or wanted to sell their business in the next year. And 47% said yes. That was interesting. I mean, that tells me a lot about how I need to be kind of posturing my business. When it published, I received 2 inquiries, one from a commercial business broker and another from a new business that is looking to find owners, looking to form an owner group to look for small businesses in Maine, asking to set up a referral arrangement. And then I got yet more exposure when the article ran for a second time. So people do look at these articles. I believe that one of our new members found us through an article that Allison Bishop wrote just ahead of our ACE Academy. Like I say, use us. We will we will promote you. We will help you figure out good ways to make the content have some synergies. And we are always looking for content, as is Maine Biz.
Yeah.
So
Great.
if people have questions, I'm happy to answer them before we move on, or we could move on.
Yeah, and I'll just say, Carrie, you are a wealth of information about the ins and outs with Maine Biz and getting published. So I've had a lot of benefit, I guess, from working with you on getting published. Okay, I think we should move into asking Francis to talk a little bit about the program committee and give us an overview of that.
Great, thank you. A lot of what I was going to talk about has been covered just in a very broad way. But I just want to say that my interest in joining ACE, and I'm on the board now, was really to join a peer group, people who are working in the same way, looking to manage all the different dimensions of running your own business or participating as an independent consultant. And the other is learning from other people for potential collaborations. And I don't know that of any success stories about that yet. I can say that I do this in my business, which is there are several people who might get a job that's much bigger than they can handle themselves. And then they reach out and sort of, it's a little, not really a subcontract, but the same idea. So I think that's another potential for what ACE can be for all of us. So for my piece on the program committee, and I've been on the program committee for, and Terry, you can help me with this, probably a year and a half, maybe. I don't know.
About right. Yeah.
So not a real long time or a very long time, but long enough to get a sense of what it involves. And hopefully you can see my slide here. And this is just in a broad way. There are 2 aspects to the program committee. And we need participants to join the program committee because it's our way, ACE's way of helping you learn from each other, but from other people. The photo you see here is of Abby McGilbury, I think is her name.
Yeah.
And that was the last one before this one program. And she was talking about really the most appropriate uses for using LinkedIn. And the reason for LinkedIn is that many of you might use it, or you do use it, rather than Facebook or some other ways. She had to talk a little bit about Instagram, but really her focus here was around LinkedIn and how to use it most effectively as a way to promote your business. So from an education point of view, we have to come up with, this is the program committee, we have to think about what are the appropriate or what are topics that you want to know or learn about. And so Terry has already highlighted, well, this one, Hack ACE, is one we came up with. He talked about the September, Terry did early on, the September program related to presentations, improving the way in which you present yourself in front of people. The October one is, and you've probably heard these in acronyms, and most of you may know what this is already, but it's the Maine Technology Institute, the MTI, and MERC, which I can't tell you what that stands for. Maybe Terry, you can, just so people have a context.
It's the Maine Entrepreneurial Resource Corps.
Great. And that's a wonderful opportunity where the Maine Technology Institute, MTI, gives grants to businesses to grow, to develop. And what they began to realize, and it's Carrie that did the link to them, that they often need a lot of help, outside help, consultant help. So they've created this consultant pool to offer their services, and they'll finance, and Carrie said this, 50% of the fee that the business would have to pay for your services, up to $10,000, I think is the amount. So
15 now, 15
oh,
now.
15 now. Oh, thanks, Carrie. So that's the October program. So if you don't know about it, or you want to learn more about it and maybe refine your profile so that when they show this to businesses, that's in October. November is tentative. We're thinking about having Focus Maine come and talk, and I say tentative because it may change. And in December, we're sort of considering how we're going to be thinking about that one too. We haven't got a nailed down topic. So you can see what the program committee does is we sort of try to collect ideas, see what the tendencies are, what the interests are, and then come up with programs. I do want to highlight the April of next year program, and that's the Consultant Academy. And I'll talk more about that in just a minute. So the education programs, there's one a month. The Consultant Academy is so far, there was one this year, we one next year. And the other aspect of this is the networking part. And the purpose of the networking is one, social, just to get to know and talk with other people. And the other is maybe more formalized. And I think this was tried once, and someone's going to need to help me with this because I wasn't there, where we had a specific topic. Did we? I think we did that, where there was a specific topic and groups of people would address them and moving around the room.
Yeah, the networking roundtables, the last one we did was a roundtable around identifying your ideal client. And so it was a fairly robust conversation, but it was also gave everybody the opportunity to meet each other in person, renew some old acquaintances and make some new ones. So
hopefully you can't hear the dog barking. Can you hear the dog barking?
no, not at all.
Thanks.
So Francis, members can also speak at ACE programs, but there's a caution I would give you, which is that a lot of our programming, the educational stuff particularly, is directed at skills valuable to consultants. It's not exclusively that. So yes, it's wonderful to have an ACE opportunity to speak. But if you're going for a broader audience, please get yourself on that ACE Speaks list, because that will get you out into the community more, and perhaps the businesses that will become clients. Although we do have people from the rest of the world, not just consultants, attend our programming. So it's not. It's kind of an either and situation as opposed to an either or.
Yeah, thanks, Carrie. And so just to kind of go along with that, these programs, the education programs, could be a community success story, a business that has done well with a consultant. And that actually was a program I attended that got me first interested in ACE. Was a program with a business talking about the work that they were doing. So there are possibilities for business connections and getting connected to the sort of the entrepreneurial ecosystem, which is ACE seems to have gotten a really good handle and niche in there. And they usually are one a month, as I said. Now, the other is the networking, and those are 4 times a year or 3 to 4 times a year. And you'll see those, and those are, again, could be social or could be more formalized. So I'm going to stop. And I think because of the size of the group, you could just talk, but if you put it in the chat, it would also be helpful so that I can copy it in case I can't write fast enough. But what would you want to, what would you like to hear? Or yeah, let's just start that. If you were going to come to an ACE event, what would you like to hear?
Yeah, and Francis, if you'd like to stop sharing, we could look at each other. Does anybody have any ideas about what, if you were to attend the next monthly program, what would be educational for you as a consultant? What would be helpful to learn about?
For me, how to build your website.
Great. Thank you. And welcome, Nogis.
Thank you, Francis. I'd be very interested in learning about identifying my niche in the market.
Yes, we had a great present. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was the main women's group. We need, yeah, you know what I'm going to say, Carrie.
The Women's Business Center, but there's no reason we couldn't ask her to appear.
I know, she was amazing. What's
She
her
was
name
very,
again?
I can't remember. I just
Are
got
you
a
thinking?
Facebook post
Are
from
you
her.
thinking of Malika Malhotra?
Yes.
Amazing, highly
Yeah.
recommended.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, and we can bring in guest speakers. We don't have a lot of support, financial support for them, but because we'd like to keep the cost to you low when you attend if we have to charge anything. But that's yeah, great. Any other ideas?
We
Well,
had a really, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Toa.
Yeah, go
We
ahead.
had a really good talk on storytelling a while ago. And I think if we had a workshop on storytelling, that could be like actually taking some of that and applying it. That could be very helpful.
Love that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great.
One of the things, yeah, I'm off mute. One of the things that Francis just said prompted a thought for me, which is our dues are relatively small compared to other organizations, as I pointed out. But the reason we can do it is we're all volunteer. And I have gotten a lot out of ACE because of the people I have met working on projects. So I would advise you that, if you're interested in networking, that's a great way to do it. And it advances the organization, and it also keeps our dues low.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I
our
want to
dues
remind everybody too that even if you're not a board member, the board meetings are still open to members. So if you want to check out a board meeting, just contact Terry to get the schedule and the links.
Yeah.
Okay. And another, Brianna mentioned she'd like to see more digital marketing and PPC lead generation. Maybe Brianna, can you tell me what PPC is?
That's Jennifer.
Oh, it's Jennifer. Sorry.
Yep. No
That's why I
worries.
listed it. I don't know what it is either, but I know it stands for pay per click.
Say it again.
It's pay per click, and it's a part of the digital marketing strategy that we should all be using. And I've learned that it's really complicated and not something that we should actually be managing ourselves and should outsource it, but it can be expensive, as are all of the things that we need to do. So maybe a 101 on it, so we're more educated with it.
Yeah. Bob did a very good, well, I think you're part of a panel on sales, Bob, that talked about conversions and identifying leads. And there was another part of it. It was managing your lead list. That if people are interested, I think we could very well do a kind of a reconfigured version of that.
Yeah, so that's a really great suggestion, Jennifer. And since I don't know what it is, see, this is one of those opportunities where you learn something, because someone says, I want this, and you go, what is that? And so you can learn in that way. We have tossed around a couple of times, and I think we ended up with the session, Carrie, you're mentioning with Bob, the difference between sales and marketing. And sometimes we confuse the two. And maybe, Bob, I think we ended up with sales when you were doing that one. Yeah. So great. Well, these are wonderful, and you can continue to come up with these ideas. Send them to me or Terry or Carrie or Tom Renahan, who's not here. I'll put my email in the chat if you need to do that. And then we go through the topics and we try to figure out if we can find someone to talk about it. And then it turns into a program. So if you're interested, this is my recruiting pitch. If you're interested in that kind of thing, of tossing around the ideas and trying to come up with topics, please join the program committee.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and you got
so-
some great ideas today, right, Francis? And
Yeah, I
Terry?
don't know what they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. And then the networking part, well, actually, no, before I do that, so one more question for you. Maybe we can do hands with this one. Would you prefer live in person or virtual? So how about hands for live? You prefer live over virtual? Okay, I was worried about this. Okay, and then how about virtual? Okay. Yeah, so it's almost even split. We did go completely virtual during the pandemic, and so we're sort of coming out of that, and I think everybody is adjusting to that. But I think maybe for folks like Jennifer, it helps you if we're not in person, right? You live farther away. We did just have someone join from Michigan.
Yeah.
Someone farther away.
Yeah.
But anyway.
One thing I'll tell you is that, am I on? Okay, is that the October program will probably be hybrid. Matthew is working with MTI on working out the kinks on that. So all of us have some bad experiences with hybrid because nobody really knew how to do it. But I think thank pandemic, more and more of us do. So we're going to be trying that to make sure that our far-flung members can also join us.
Yeah, it's a great point. We did do and Tove asked this question about whether we could do live and remote at the same time. We did do that in the last session that you saw the photo that I had up on my slide, and it worked pretty well. But one of the key features of that, or key pieces, is the speaker recognizes the people on the video. You know, if you completely ignore them, it's not very exciting when you're on the virtual side. The technology is pretty good now. We can kind of work out most of it, but we do kind of piece it together. We don't have equipment we can bring in and set it up. So, okay.
Yeah, I guess the comment I would make is stay tuned. I think we're going to be doing a lot of Zoom programs because our membership is far flung. I mean, Brianna is in Warren, and we've got 4 or 5 other members in the mid coast that it's a little difficult to get to Portland by 9 in the morning for an hour meeting. Then I don't have anything else to do in Portland. So, and then we've got folks in Massachusetts, like you said, Michigan, North Carolina. So there are a few folks that, in order to stay tapped in, we don't want to have them just watching videos, and we'd have to actually figure out how to video the live events. So we'll probably be doing more of them live, and we'll be doing all of the networking roundtables live. Those will be in person, and to make sure that we do have in-person events.
Yeah, Priscilla just mentioned, could we do things in different regions? We've talked about that. We haven't, I think, decided to be ready to do that just yet. But there are sort of clusters, the mid-coast up to Camden area.
Yeah.
Most people, we've looked at the membership, most people are in the Portland area, which kind of makes sense because that's where most people in the state are. But we do need to address that.
One of the objectives of ACE Speaks is to create anchors with various chambers of commerce to different areas of the state and attract members in those areas as well. So as that grows, I'm hoping that we can start having, really robust regional meetings, even if it's just the regional people want to get together for a beer. So we're trying to meet those needs, and I'm sure we will. It'll be a measured build of our footprint.
Yeah, and Tova mentioned in the chat a question about understanding who is speaking in the ACE Speaks programming and when. And so it's going to launch, Tova, in the fall. And Carrie and Terry, I think, and Francis, we should probably think about making sure that that is in the newsletter, the ACE newsletter. So thank you for that question, Tova.
Yeah, that is in the plan. as is the LinkedIn announcement and the Facebook announcements.
Perfect.
So I think we've got that covered. Plus, we'll get the chambers doing the promotion as well. So if you start paying attention to the chambers that you have free memberships with, you'll probably learn about them that way too.
Great. So I have one more question for you. I need your feedback because you're here. I've got you captured on Zoom. And that is for the networking, which is the kinds of things we talk about is, should we just have it social? So you just go, and some of you have been to those. I know Holly has, and I think Tova and Matthew I know has. You're just going to walk in and there's, you know, the ACE group sitting around tables having a beer or just talking or whatever. That's one format. The other would be to have these topical sessions where, you know, round tables where there might be somebody there who has a prompt. And you could sit with that person, you have a prompt and you talk about it, and then, you know, you move to the next one, something like that. Kind of like, not really speed dating, but sort of that, you know, short-term time to get some information. So preferences there. You can just talk.
We have another option that we could consider too is a lot of the networking meetings I've been going to lately, or networking meetups, somebody sponsors the event and they get 5 to 10 minutes to showcase themselves. And so it works out like first round is on them because they've paid like $250 to be a sponsor. I'm not saying it has to be that high or that much or even, but it's another idea if somebody wants to be highlighted. The challenge around that is getting enough people to come to that to make it worth the sponsors,
yeah.
You know,
See,
while.
Priscilla, we already miss you on the board.
But we could do it informally and pick one of our members that signs up and wants to be highlighted and just kind of give it a trial and without paying for sponsorship, and then just kind of go from there if we wanted to do that.
Great. Okay, so anybody else have thoughts about social more?
I like the idea of having a topic because that gets me there. And also I really like the format that we used to have before the pandemic with the breakfast. It was a very nice breakfast. And also we had an opportunity to do like a quick talk about what we offer, kind of like we did today, but it was really nice to practice a nice opportunity to practice your pitch, stand up in front of people and practice your pitch and see what other people were doing for that too.
Yeah, great. Thanks. I know we've talked about the breakfasts, that format. One of the challenges we have is we have to balance the finances too of this. And the costs went up pretty dramatically, those breakfasts. We may be able to get back there.
We bring our own eggs.
Right. Great. Okay. Any other social topic?
Just one other thing. We used to have a group called Grace, and it was the Gorham ACE people, and we got together for breakfast.
Wow.
And there was only about 6 of us. It was Judy Jones and let me think. Tova, were you part of that? Bob maybe showed up every once in a while, but we just got together at a diner in Gorham once every couple months. So there's nothing stopping micro groups of ACE members getting together and just putting it on the Facebook group and saying, hey, we're getting together for coffee, come join us, you know, and it doesn't have to be formal at all.
Yeah.
Francis, that last networking event where we had people talking, I had a chance to hear what Holly does, and as a result, we were able to help each other out. You know, so I think it's nice to have a topic. I don't think it needs to dominate. I think there's got to be maybe a little bit of both going on, but when there are periods of quiet, it's nice to be able to say, you know, to bring that back in and say, does anybody else have anything? You know, yeah, I thought that went well.
Great, thank you. Any other thoughts? And then we have one more thing I want to cover.
I
You
had
can follow on.
Um,
Oh, sorry. Go.
I think Holly. Holly, you want to?
Holly, please.
Thank you. I went to an event this week in Boston, which gives me some ideas to mention, and there were probably 30 people maybe, and it was hard before they had any activities to kind of, meet enough people. But then they did sort of like a one of those, break the ice. You had to do an exercise and try to fill in the blocks. And I don't think that was overly successful. But what really was they had a time where they said, okay, now we have these 6 topics, and just go to a table and spend 10 minutes talking about the topics. And it was sort of my peer people who do what I do. So, you went and then rotated 10 minutes later to another group, and that was you could stay at the same table if you wanted to, but that was having a little bit of an agenda made it easier and gave you an excuse to kind of meet new people and get up and go to somebody's table and interrupt.
So I have a side note to something that both Francis and Francis certainly mentioned it, which is Tova. If you have a presentation coming up, we can help you, but we can't help you unless we know about it. So please tell us. Really anybody, you can contact anybody on the board, and we'll figure out among us who's the one who does that function. So please do speak up. If you have publications and articles in other publications and there's a digital link, we'll help.
Yeah.
We're just hoping to be a place that makes it a little bit easier for you to get your word out because you're a small shop. When I left big firm practice, I was amazed at the stuff that went on behind the scenes that I didn't know about, but now I was responsible for.
So great. Thanks, Carrie. I've just put my email in there. So if you do have a program idea or a comment or how to make it better, like what Holly was suggesting another way, or Priscilla, that's great, because that goes into our discussions and try to figure out how we match speakers and dates and locations and so forth. So great. I have one more slide I want to show you, and I'll show you why I think it's significant. And that's the Consultants Academy. And this was an educational effort. And part of my reasoning for wanting to show this slide, and I don't know if you can see it, but we gave out these little business cards, and that's what's on the screen here. And on this QR code, if you want to, I think it's going to work. I tried it out a couple of times. What it takes you to is our Google Drive, and all of the resources that the speakers had are available are there. So there were topics around finances, marketing. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that were there. Starting your business, programming. And so the speakers all had materials that they used, and then they put them online. Our focus with the Consultant Academy is to sort of be more intense and intentional about what it is that it takes to build your own business. The one we're thinking about for April, so just save April in your mind, is a little more focused on the next step. So the one last January was really around starting from scratch. And we may be going to the next level in terms of saying, okay, so you've got a number of pieces. What's your next step? It hasn't all come together. So don't hold me exactly for what I just said, but that's our hope, our aspiration. So the programming committee has lots of aspirations. But this Consultant Academy, I think, was really successful. We had 30 plus, I think, or 30 people there. We got really terrific feedback. And maybe there's someone here who did attend the Consultant Academy, and you'd be willing to share what you learned, what you took away. Does anybody want to share that? I'll put this down. Well, I'll leave it up in case you want to do the QR code. Anybody have anything to share?
Priscilla was there. And
Yeah,
I think Bob was
I
there.
attended. What was good for me, I've been consulting for a long time now, I think over 12 years. I started out coaching and shifting more into consulting. And what it did for me was reminded me of best practices, you know, kind of going back to the beginning and remembering all the things that I should continue to do to get, you know, everything I did to build my business, I need to continue to do to continue to build my business. So it was really inspiring to sit with new consultants and learn what they're doing and the modalities they're in and what they're excited about. I just thought it was great energy, and the presenters were amazing. It was a lot of information.
Yeah, and the thanks, Priscilla. The presentations weren't up front; they were at tables. So what happened is the presenters stayed at the tables, and the participants moved to the presenters.
Yeah,
so that you were
the
there.
facilitators of the roundtables were great. They were very knowledgeable, and I felt like every question that the participants had, the facilitators were able to answer, at least direct them to a resource. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, I was impressed too, and I think the fact that you could be in a small group, no more than I think 6 or 8, with the facilitator, was much better than being, you know, in a room and having someone talk to you. Anybody else have any comments or reactions to it that was there? If not, maybe you have something to how to make it better. It's a half day, roughly, what we did last time.
My only comment is to have a bigger room and maybe even more time, because I felt like it was just so much information. So those are my only comments.
Right.
One thing I want to note, and you can see it in the lower right-hand corner of that little business card, is don't worry, is that Maine Technology Institute sponsored it. And the reason they did it is they are interested in making sure there are quality consultants in the state to support innovators and entrepreneurs. So it's a win-win. They support us and we do the education.
Okay, so that's the programming committee. You can see basically we're trying to find ways to come up with topics, people, places, and match them all. Again, if you're interested in it, this is my recruiting pitch again. We could certainly use some new ideas. So
yeah,
thank you very much.
Great.
I'll turn it, I guess, Carrie, you want to wrap us up? Or Angela, I don't know who's.
Well, thank you, Angela.
Angela,
thank you, Carrie, and thank you, Francis. I think we're had a great overview and some great detail about how to get the benefits out of ACE. Unless anyone has more questions, I think we're all set for today. All right. Well, thank you very much, and hope to see you at the next program in September.